telling us, or I'm going to be explaining another interesting topic that for every undergraduate student, every postgraduate student, be it master's or PhD, you must have an in-depth idea of it, and it's called referencing style. But I'm not just going to be talking about all the references that I'll be talking about a particular references that is unique, and it is mostly used in management sciences. I think some sciences, engineering, but for every university there are peculiarities to the type of referencing style that they use. But my own college, my own faculty, my own department, this is the referencing style that we use. And because many students have approached me in the past that how will they be able to do their reference, how do they reference, whether in text citation or at the end of the entire work. So I'm here live and direct with this ALPA referencing style. And it is no longer news that in 2019, October 2019 precisely, that the organization brought out the 7th edition of the ALPA publication manual. And what is ALPA before we even go into the in totals? ALPA style was developed by the American Psychological Association. It is the full meaning of ALPA. APA is American Psychological Association, and this ALPA reference style is a standard citation style or reference style that guides students in business, management, accounting, social sciences, health science, public service, and many other related career or colleges or faculty. Then, like I said, the 7th edition is now out. Before now, in 2009, it used to be the 6th edition, but October 2019, the 7th edition of the publication manual of the American Psychological Association was released, and this is all popularly referred to the ALPA manual or the publication manual. There are two things we need to know quickly. The first thing is there are two types of citation. Then in those two types of citation, we have in-text citation and we have reference citation. But before I go further, I also need to tell us that this 7th edition replaces the 6th edition published in 2009. You cannot be in this age and time and say you still want to be using hyper 6 reference style. It replaces this hyper 7 reference style, replaces the 6th edition, or the 7th edition has replaced the 6th edition, and a whole lot of things has changed or has been upgraded in this 7th edition. And so I want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy as I take you through the journey of the 7th edition of ALPA referencing style. Like I said earlier, there are two types of citation. The first one is called in-text citation. What do we mean by in-text citation? It's that is within the content of within the content of your document, or within the text of your document. That is citation you make while you are writing your article or your paper or your project or your thesis or your dissertation, whichever name you call it. So these are citation within the text of the document that you are writing. And what then is reference citation? At the back of the work, once you have finished all the maybe chapter 1 to 2, or you're trying to write an article and you have concluded the introduction, the methodology, the findings, the conclusions, the recommendations, suggestions for further studies, the next thing is to list all work that you have used. List them. But the way to reference inside citation is different from reference citation. I'll take us through the journey in a short while. Okay. Also, in-text citation has two things. One is called the parenthetical citation, and secondly is called the narrative citation. When we say parenthetical citation, it means you are trying to end a particular statement with a reference. So if you are trying to end a particular statement with a reference, then it comes in parentheses, it comes in brackets. You open the bracket, the name of the author, comma, then the year. The name of the author, comma, then the year. Let's say, for example, my name is Otokiti Bisayo, and I'm writing on human resource management practices and of organizational performance. And somebody wants to reference me now in parenthetical citation. After the statement, the person just opens the bracket, put Otokiti, comma, then the year 2022, then close the bracket, then full stop. It ends in a full stop. Like I said, there are two types of intext citation. We have the parenthetical citation and we have the narrative citation. Narrative citation usually comes in the middle of a sentence or at the beginning. You are trying to illustrate a particular point. You are trying to say what one person has said, maybe in your own way or in the person's language. Then that is called narrative citation. It starts with the author's surname and the year of publication. It starts with the author's surname and the year of publication. But the difference between parenthetical citation and narrative citation: for parenthetical citation, it ends with the author's surname, comma, then the year, then you close the bracket. You open the bracket, the author's surname, comma, then the year 2022, you close the bracket, then full stop. That's parenthetical. For narrative, it comes in between the sentence or at the beginning of the sentence, and this is the way to cite it. Otokiti, the author's name, then the year comes in a bracket, opine that, suggested that, then you continue what you are saying. Then when it comes to citing in parentheses or narrative, there are different authors, there are different ways of citing. You can have a single author, you can have two authors, you can have three authors, you can have an author that has authored two or more articles within a year, and you want to use the two articles the person has used. Then then also chapter. How do you reference chapter in an edited book? What about authors that have the same surname? How do you reference it? Those are the things I'll be taking us through quickly in another minute. For one author, if it's parenthetical, for one author, it becomes, open the bracket, Otokiti, comma, 2022, you close the bracket, then it ends with a full stop. For narrative, it starts the sentence or in the middle of the sentence. Then Otokiti is not in brackets. Otokiti, then the year comes in bracket, suggested that, human resource management practices, and the statement. Then when you have two authors, what happens? For parenthetical, you open the bracket, don't forget parentheses, the bracket. You open the bracket, you write the surname of the first author, Otokiti, and the name of the second author, and you use the shorthand, ampersand and the shorthand. So Otokiti and Oyedayo 2020. Then you close the bracket. That is if two authors are involved. You open the bracket, Otokiti and Oyedayo. You close the bracket, then a full stop. Don't forget there will be a comma to Otokiti and Oyedayo, comma, then 2020. Then you close the bracket, then full stop. If it's narrative, then it becomes Otokiti and AND Oyedayo. Then the year comes in bracket, 2020. The year comes in bracket. Then if there are three authors in upper 6, if you are mentioning you are citing it for the first time in upper 6, you cite all the authors and the year. But now the difference between upper 6 and upper 7 now, if there are more than 3 authors, what you do is just the surname of the first author, et al, comma, then the year in brackets. The surname of the first author, et al, comma, then 2020. It comes like Otokiti et al. Et al is E-T, then a space, A-L, then full stop, then comma, 2020. If there are more than 3 authors. The same way for narrative citation. Don't forget, for narrative citation, the surname does not come in bracket. It is only the year that comes in a bracket. What if you is a chapter in an edited book, and how do you reference it? Then the first thing you do is you write the name of the author, the name of the author, the name of the author, comma, authority, comma, year 2020 or 2019. Then you close the bracket. If it's parenthetical, then if it's narrative, authority, the surname, when it comes to narrative, the surname does not come into the bracket. It is only the year that comes into bracket. Then what if you have work with the same author and same dates? Work with the same author and same dates. It's just A and B that differentiates it. Let's say, for example, you open the bracket authority, comma, then 2020A, comma, then 2020B. That is the same author, the same dates, and you want to use the two articles in your work. Then when it comes to narrative, it becomes authority, then the year comes in bracket, 2020A or 2020B, described or opined or examined, whichever way you want to write it. But what if you now have authors with the same surname? How do you explain that? Authors with the same surname, it means you have to mention the initials with the surname. Initials with the surname. Let's say Bisayo Otokiti and Olutayo Otokiti. Bisayo Otokiti and Olutayo Otokiti. The first person, and you want to reference the two of them, will be B full stop Otokiti, comma, then you differentiate with a semicolon. You differentiate with a semicolon. Then Olutayo, O is the initial. Olutayo dot Otokiti, then comma, then the year 2022. I take that again. If you have authors with the same surname, if you want to reference them, you include their initials. And I'm trying to explain myself and my sister now how, if you want to reference our work, my name is Bisayo, as is Olutayo. Okay, you now pick the first name, that's the first letter of my name, that is B, and the first letter of our own, which is O. You now say B dot Otokiti, comma, or a semicolon, B dot Otokiti, a semicolon to differentiate it. Maybe mine is in 2020 or 2022. You write it 2020, then a semicolon to differentiate it. Don't forget, I think I'm mixing it up. What I intend to say is that if there are two authors that bear the same surname, you write the initial of the first author, full stop, the surname, comma, then the year. Then you separate it with a semicolon. Then the initials of the second author, comma, the surname, and the year. So I'm going to give a live example now. Olutayo and Bisayo. I'm the first author now. It will be Bisayo dot Otokiti, comma, 2020. Then separated by a semicolon. It will now be O, that is Olutayo, full stop, Otokiti, comma, 2022. Then you put in bracket. If it's narrative too, you do the same similar thing that I have done. You do it for narrative law. Bisayo Otokiti 2020 in bracket and Olutayo Otokiti 2022 in bracket, and like that. Okay, what else do we need to know? There are some other documents. We can just check out some of these slides by the end of this video. Then there are some other ways we can also cite some citation, whether in books, journal articles in press, magazines, YouTube, and all those other things. Then somebody also has asked me the difference between referencing and bibliography. Referencing and bibliography. I will just say a slight difference between the two now. Referencing is the list of only the sources you have referred to in your work. Referencing list is only the sources you have referred to in your work, all the sources that you have used in your work. But bibliography is the combination of all the references you have used and all the people that you have referred to, or you have used their work but are not referenced in that work. In totality is bibliography. Referencing is just the only people that you have used in your work. I will just quickly show us the differences, the slight or the major differences between IPA 6 and IPA 7 in a moment. The major differences between IPA 6 and IPA 7 now. One, these are some of the major differences between IPA 6 and IPA 7. 1. The publisher location is no longer included in the reference. In IPA 6, the publisher location was included in the referencing, but in IPA 7, the publisher location is no longer needed in the publishing. The publisher location is no longer needed in the referencing. Then 2, another major difference between IPA 6 and IPA 7 is that the in-text citation for work with 3 or more authors is now shortened right from the first citation. You only include the first author's name and add et al. I just told us that you only include the first author's name and add et al. Et al is et space al, then full stop, comma, then the year. Et al. At the beginning, the in-text citation, that is citation within your work, the in-text citation for work with 3 or more authors is now shortened right from the first citation. You only include the first author name, then you write et al, full stop, comma, then the year. Then it will be in bracket. That some examples I've used on my slide. I hope you see this slide so that you can actually add 1 or 2 things together and bring in your own suggestion too. Then 3, the third difference between IPA 6 and IPA 7, surnames and initials for up to 20 authors should be provided in the reference entry. Surnames and initials up to 20 authors should be provided in the reference list. Reference is at the back of the whole work. Don't forget, it's not in text, it's not in the context of our work. Reference is at the back. So if you have up to 20 authors, you have to provide all their names, their initials, their names, and the year. The initials, the name, their initials, their names, the year, the name of the article or book, and like that. Up to 20 authors. In IPA 6, it used to be 7 authors. It used to be 7 authors in IPA 6, but now you can provide surname and initials up to 20 authors. Then the fourth difference is if you have more than 20 authors. If you have more than 20 authors, that is 21 above, you use ... It is called ellipsis. You use ... after the 19th name. That means you mention the initials and the name to the 19th name. Then from the 19th name, you put ellipsis, that is ... followed by the final author. There is no need of you to put and or the ampersand and. You don't need to put any other. Like I take again, if you have more than 20 authors, you mention their initials and their names to the 19th author. At the 19th author, you use ellipsis or ellipsis ellipsis to put ... then followed by the final author's name. You don't need to put and, you don't need to put anything. Then the year and every other thing. Difference between IPA 6 and IPA 7 references style or edition is that the DOI and the URL are no longer necessary. The DOI means digital object identifier and the URL means uniform resource locator. In IPA 6, it used to be required, but now in IPA 7, it is no longer required. That's the 5th one. Then the 6th one now. The 6th one is that, like I said, the URL are no longer required for referencing. Then, unless a retrieval date is needed, it is no longer required for referencing except a retrieval date is needed. That is, the website name is included unless it's the same as the author. as the author, the URL are no longer needed to. They are no longer needed in our part 6. Okay, I said the fifth one, the DOI, the digital object identifier, are no longer required. Then the sixth one, the URL, the uniform resource locator, are also no longer required, unless a retrieval date is needed. Unless a retrieval date is needed. Then number 7 for ebooks, the format platform or devices. Ebooks, platform or devices, maybe our laptop, Kindle, is no longer required in the reference, and the publisher is included. Is no longer required in the reference, but the name of the publisher is included. I said for ebooks, the format, the platform or device is no longer included in the reference. The seventh one, for ebooks, the format, the platform or the device is no longer included in the reference, but the name of the publisher is now included in it. For 6th edition, you include the format, the platform, the device, and like that. But for the 7th edition, you remove all the formats, the platform, the device, and is replaced by the name of the publisher. Is replaced by the name of the publisher. The number 8 difference, the 8th difference is that clear guidelines are provided for including contributors other than authors and editors. For example, podcast episode, TV series episodes, the writer and the director of that episode are cited. The writer and the director of that or those episodes are cited. Number 9, you can now cite YouTube videos. You can now cite YouTube videos as part of your referencing. Everybody will agree with me now. There are lots of educative YouTube videos online. There are many times I'm stranded with one particular topic. If I'm not using Google, then I use YouTube to watch videos, to learn. And so YouTube is now included. You can actually reference YouTube in your referencing now. In IPA 6 referencing style or the IPA 6 edition, you cannot reference YouTube and all those online sites, but now there is a space for you to reference YouTube, the name of the author, the year, if you have the month, then the topic, then you share the YouTube link. You share the YouTube link, whether in Intext Citation or Narrative. The first one I said is at the back, the reference. Then number 10 difference between IPA 6 and IPA 7 is that the singular they or their is endorsed as a general neutral pronoun. Now, the singular they or their is endorsed as a general neutral pronoun now, rather. Like a researcher's career depends on how often he or she is cited. That is the 6th edition, but it is no longer like that in the 7th edition. You now say in the 7th edition, the researcher's career depends on how often they are cited. The researcher's career depends on how often they are cited. That's 10. Then number 11. Instead of using adjective as noun to label group of people, descriptive phrases are preferred. Instead of using adjectives as noun to label group of people, descriptive phrases are now preferred. Let's say, for example, you want to say the poor. In APA 6 references that it was allowed, but APA 7 references that is not allowed. You say people living in poverty instead of just saying the poor, using adjective as a noun. No, the poor. No, you now say people living in poverty. That's number 11. Number 12 now. Number 12 difference between APA 6 edition and APA 7. Instead of broad categories, you should use exact age ranges that are more relevant and specific. Instead of broad categories, you should use exact age ranges that are more relevant and specific. In APA 6, you can say people over 65 years of age, but now in the APA 7 references, I say people in the range of 65 to 75 years of age. You give it a specific age group. You can say between 10 and 20, 20 and 30, 30 and 40, 40 and 50, 50 and 60, 60 and you should not just open it. A broad category is no longer it must be within a specific range of or in time or within a specific age range that are more relevant and specific. Number 13. Now number 13, paper format guideline for professional and student papers. That is for hyper 6. Now we can use increased flexibility regarding fonts. You can use Time New Roman 12 font size. You can use Georgia 11 font size. There are other ones you can see. Then the running head on the title page no longer includes the word running head. It now contains only a page number and the shortened paper title. It no longer includes the running head. It now contains only a page number and the shortened paper title. Then the last one, the numbering is now at the right top of the work. Number 14, that is the last one. The numbering is now at the right top end of your work. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please send me your comments in the comment section below. I'll be looking forward to answer your questions or your comment, to respond or to reply. Thank you so much. I've not